We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to We Say Things, episode 73. Cinder, are you trying to pretend that it's you talking? My name is Cinderin, and I am an idiot for not watching In Bruges. You couldn't even guess that I was going to say that for some reason. Anywho, greetings. It's been a very long time. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a whole week. It's been a very long week. I'm
Yes.
good. Comparatively, yeah, it's good. It's okay. It's all right.
Glad to hear it. Let's
Yeah.
say thanks together for our beautiful In Bruges patrons who we will now name. You can take the first half, Cinderin.
Yeah, I'm taking the first half because you didn't want to say this, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know I don't know how to say
All right,
this.
so wait, how is this pronounced in English, actually?
Oh, you can't look it up. That's the whole point.
I know what it is.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Take it.
Well, at least this word exists in Danish. Okay, so an anemone in anonymity is an enemy and an anomaly. But I don't know if it's pronounced like that, or if that word even exists in English like that.
Anemone.
Either way.
I don't know what that word means. What does it mean?
It's a type of flower that grows on the water in like a pod, I think.
Okay. Like
Either
lily?
that or it's just a type of flower that grows in the forest. One or the other. I forgot. Anyway, Fab Daddy, that's easier to say. Say daddy all the time in my everyday life. The Mega Pope, I can't actually afford this Pepega card. Steve Nash retired as a Laker. T.I. in New Zealand. Zan Savior. SUNSfan Omegalo. Yes. Nate Thicko01 Hamscroats. Bacon. No, not that bacon. The other bacon. Overcoming my intense addiction to cowboy boots and clown porn. I wish you best of luck with that. Lick. Shark TM. Hoey988. And freshly seasoned goat balls.
Thank you. Also, to change will happen, Comrade Dmitry Valdisov. How close was I on the last one?
Not bad.
Sorry, just interrupting the In Bruges shoutouts to say Ben Broomhead sickens me. Back to it, Ben Jackson. Thank you to Dop. Sex is cool, but have you ever tried Piekvio Chozkrvv?
Okay, that was a lot less close than the other one.
I should have translated that to see what that meant. But thank you to Fane_man. Ben Broomhead is getting tired of all this Ben versus Ben violence and thinks that the Bens should band together to lead the patrons united. Thank you. Pitch Black, Wooden Aftertaste, Dun Talk, The Coward, Dyslexic Lawyer, Anonymous, and Ronnie Keel. Thank you, friends, very much. Appreciate you. First thing I want to talk about Cinderman is there's a lot. Every time we post a video, people ask, this is going to be like a Spotify thing, okay? Which has died off now. Where are the timestamps? I wish if you guys posted timestamps, I would watch your videos. So two things. Number one, there are timestamps, okay? They're in the video description every single time. Number two, I know a lot of you are used to timestamps being built into the YouTube player. I am too. For whatever reason, it does not work on any of our podcasts. I have looked it up so many different times. I've reached out to YouTube for help. They have no idea what's going on. Any other video we post that we put timestamps, it works. But our podcast does not work. I cannot figure it out, and I feel like I don't even want to look at it anymore. It's just really annoying.
Could it have something to do with the length of the video?
I thought that was the first thought I had, but there are plenty of... I as you know, I'm an ASMR enthusiast, as we'll call it. There are some that are literally 3+ hours that I listen to that have it. So that is not a reason that I can think of. So
okay.
I don't know. If somebody at YouTube wants to help, if you guys have friends and family that work at YouTube, that would be great because it sucks that everybody gets these timestamps but us. Number two, we had our POG tournament. Congratulations to a random bunch of people that played, that won the tournament. It was a lot of fun to cast. The team that won, oh my God, what is the name? Something Mafia. Ugh, it's so bad I don't remember.
Isn't it Romanian something?
Oh, how the hell did you know that? Yes, Romanian
Romanian
Mafia.
Mafia?
Thank you, Cinderin. Appreciate it. Cast with Brax during the finals.
Maybe I was
and then,
smurfing. Who knows?
Yeah,
Nobody
would
would have guessed if I was in Romanian Mafia.
That's true. And then in the finals, Slacks actually showed up to cast, and he was just really angry. And I still haven't figured out why. He was just talking shit about the mode.
He figured out he's becoming a dad.
And he had just finished a ranked match and lost. And then for the next 2 hours was just miserable casting with us, even though he's the one that offered. And then once it was over, he left without saying goodbye. And he was streaming the whole time. And usually when he gets like angry and he, comes back and apologizes, right? Every single time. This is the only time he didn't. Yeah. And I'm just wondering what's wrong with him.
It's the kid. He's distracted. He's stressed out.
I don't know. Very, very strange. And then the final thing before we get into the dotes, SUNSfan recommends Cinderin, except it's the opposite. I do not recommend watching the movie Tenet. What a pile of fucking shit. Garbage.
Recommend not watching Tenet. That's
correct.
Still a recommendation.
So I'm going to not spoil the movie, so don't worry about that. So Christopher Nolan is, I'd have to look at the list. He, at the very least, top 2 director of all time for me. Okay, incredible. He's done the Batman series with, God, what's that guy's name? Christian Bale. Those Batman movies were god tier. He's done Interstellar. His original movie was Memento. Like, his movies are so fucking good. Unbelievably good. So anytime he comes out with a movie, I'm just going to go watch it, plain and simple. I actually broke my isolation to go watch a movie, Cinderin. I went to the movie theater during the pandemic, which I haven't done since March.
Did you wear a mask the whole movie?
No, because I was eating. Well, actually, we were only one of 2 people, Nikki and I, plus one person in the entire theater, and it was a big theater.
And where did the other people sit?
Nobody bought tickets. The movie's been out we went during the week. Okay, we were safe, and it's been out for like a month now, so nobody's gonna be watching it right now, especially during the pandemic. Anywho, let me talk about this movie.
Did you stuff your face with fucking popcorn covered in glaze syrup and?
All right. If you want to get into this, I will also complain about this. So as you guys know, when I go to the movies, my favorite thing is to get this popcorn, just drench it in butter, and then cover it in caramel powder. It's the best thing ever. And I have a giant cherry Coke with no ice. Okay, that's my, this is not even me kidding. That is literally my favorite thing to eat / it's my favorite activity, watching a movie and having that garbage. So we go to the theater, and for whatever reason, my popcorn thing, my voucher, wasn't working. Apparently it expired because we haven't been there in so long. So I had to buy this popcorn. It's not even a big popcorn, just a regular size. $7 fucking dollars.
It just doesn't taste as good when it costs money, does it?
That's the number one thing. Number 2, the butter dispenser was deactivated because of the pandemic. They don't want people sharing that shit. So I couldn't even put fucking butter on it. And number 3, they didn't have the powder out because of the pandemic. You had to pay money for the powder. $2 extra, which I did not do. $7 was the limit. And it was the most disgusting fucking popcorn, which, again, did not affect my outlook on the movie.
So you actually had popcorn?
I did. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Terrible
Unlucky.
Experience.
Maybe popcorn just isn't for you.
Shut up. Back to the movie.
Maybe you should bring your own caramel next time you go to the movies.
The funny thing is, we have our own
container.
I should have.
Just bring a bucket of caramel.
We
just stick your finger in that and lick it throughout the entire movie. Nobody's going to notice. There's nobody else in the cinema. So.
That's a good point. No, I would literally do that. It's not even a meme. Anyway, the movie, Cinder. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that wants to watch it. So the previews looked weird. I didn't know what to expect. And the movie, it's very convoluted, in my opinion. I'm not going to say what it's about, but the thing that it doesn't matter how good a movie is, in my opinion, if the sound is so fucking poorly edited, you literally could not hear half the dialogue. It's like, it feels like, when you're
possible.
I heard a lot of complaints about this before I went, so I was kind of expecting it, but it was way worse than I thought. In Batman, where what's that villain that had the thing over his Yeah,
I know that.
It sounded the whole movie, everyone talked like that. And it's not like there wasn't a lot of dialogue. There's a shit ton of dialogue. And I'm a person, like, if I'm watching a movie at home on Netflix or something, I will always use subtitles because even if I understand the language, I miss like 20% maybe of dialogue is what I've noticed. This legitimately over half the dialogue I didn't catch at all. And for me, that is criminal that you can. So people,
Are you
I
sure it
tweeted
wasn't
about
because?
this.
So now that your popcorn weren't with caramel and butter, they were harder than if you put butter and caramel on them, it probably seeps in and makes them like really soft. So now that they were harder, maybe when you were chewing them, it was actually louder, and that kind of blocked out your
See,
ears
that
while you were.
that is a great. I didn't eat the popcorn after the first 5 minutes. So your theory, it was so disgusting I couldn't even get halfway through the bag. So your theory is dead in the water, Cinderin.
Did you
But
put the popcorn in your ears out of protest that they weren't with butter?
no,
Okay, that was the last idea I had.
thank you.
I
I
guess
hope
the
that's the
movie just
last.
got bad editing.
So
No, I heard about it too. I'm just surprised. Like,
yeah.
so somebody, I th- I don't know where I read it, that somebody was like, there's some sort of stylistic choice going into the editing of the sound
Yes.
where it's supposed to be disjointed or whatever it was.
So
But if you literally can't hear dialogue, that's pretty bad.
yeah, so some people tweeted back at me and saying they love the fact that the editing was like that. I didn't respond because I was too angry. But again, I'm not going to get into the reason. I understand the reason why they would, like, the idea behind it, right? Because it fits the timeline. Like, things are kind of
Okay.
like backwards, forward, whatever. But when it impairs your hearing enough that you actually cannot listen, like understand half the dialogue, it's fucking shit. That's like the most
Oh,
pretentious garbage ever that
is
I've
that
ever
also
heard.
what the title of the movie is about?
Tenet is, yeah, it's a what's it called?
Palindrome.
Palindrome, yes. So
Ah. Maybe
yeah,
the sound is
garbage.
good if you watch the movie backwards.
Yeah, we'll never know because I'm never
Just play
watching
it
the movie
backwards
again.
at home.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine that. Everybody's complaining about the sound, and the cinemas have just all been playing the movie in the wrong order.
So do not
Hmm.
recommend Tenet unless you're pretentious and like things to sound like shit because it's cool.
So if you're into most contemporary rap music, this is the movie for you. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, too try hard in my opinion. Okay, so first thing we'll start with this week was obviously very sad news. Flo, who was a part of teams like Flight of Moon, Vega Squadron for a little bit as well, apparently died of cancer. I don't think I saw any really specifics about it. I hadn't heard this was even happening, but apparently he's been battling it for a long time.
Yeah,
Um, so obviously extremely sad. We give our condolences to him or his family, I should say, and friends and all that stuff.
yeah. It's he got diagnosed like more than 2.5 years ago. I remember it happening and it being
Really?
talked about, and then yeah, and supposedly things went well with surgery, and he was recovering. And then he had, what do you call that in Canada? Do you also call it a relapse when it comes back after it's supposedly gone?
Yeah.
I mean, cancer is never really gone, right? Like, that's the thing about it, is that you can feel really good and suddenly it just comes back. And that's what happened to him. It's kind of similar to the story with Total Biscuit, where the surgery and everything went well, or the treatment went well, rather. And then out of nowhere, it just comes back and just kicks you in the ass, and it fucking sucks. I have a little bit of experience playing with this guy in public games. I thought he was always, at least my memory of playing with him was pretty good. He was one of the more better English-speaking Russian players. Mainly played off lane, pretty active. Seemed to be trying his best and keep his morale high despite what was going on in his life. So I think that's really admirable. But yeah.
Yeah, it really I mean, I know a lot has happened this year, but this really puts things in perspective about what's important. Cancer is just dude, he was 25. That
Yeah.
is unreal. Like,
I
I'm
believe
10 years
the
older already.
he had a, was it a brain tumor? I think it was. He had a bad type of cancer. He had a really bad type, and things were going well, but yeah.
So again, condolences to his family, his friends, everybody that played with him. Very sad to hear. Next thing on the agenda for this week. I mean, honestly, in terms of other type of news, there really wasn't that much. This might be a bit of a light episode. ESL and DreamHack apparently are joining forces. So I read their kind of what do we want to call it? Their press release. And I actually read it twice just to see if I if I remembered it correctly. But they don't like talk about anything. They just say they're joining forces, and then that's it. Am I missing something? Are we supposed to speculate?
No, I think it's basically a merger, right? That's how I understood it, at least. I remember seeing the tweet from, I think it was Bonnie, who works with DreamHack, saying, "I just got 400 new colleagues," um, something like that. So, I mean, I don't. Is it a full company level merge or is it a tournament level merge?
Yeah, that's it. Just says ESL and DreamHack are joining forces to further accelerate our shared mission to shape the future of esports and gaming and to create a world where everybody can truly be somebody, aka a whole lot of nothing. But obviously, like if we talk about them merging as companies or even just, I mean, it doesn't matter which way it goes, I suppose. It's still pretty major news.
Right.
ESL and DreamHack, especially in Dota, have done a shit ton of tournaments. Um, so I don't know what this does. That mean there's going to be less tournaments as a result, or this will accelerate even further into additional tournaments on top of what they're already doing? Obviously, we don't know specifics, but still big news, regardless of not having any details to talk about. I mean, is there any way that this could be a bad thing? Do you think? Just trying to look at the other side, I guess, since we're speculating already about what it could mean for the scene.
I don't know. The classic thing with tournament organizing and anything really is that competition is supposed to make the product better, right? So if two of the teams that were usually competing in the past for products now work together, uh, the negative outlook is that now that if they will do all the tournaments together, the positive outlook is they're going to have more resources and do a better job. The negative outlook is there's going to be less competition. So maybe they need to try less hard. I don't know. I don't see it as a bad thing, initially at least. But you never know.
Okay.
Just to finish off, I looked into it a little bit more because I wanted to make sure the thing about Flow, because I remembered reading about it those 2.5 years ago, and the thing that he got initially, it was apparently diagnosed really late, which makes it quite. I don't know if it was incredible that it got treated, but supposedly what was discovered was a 21 centimeter mediastinal tumor, and the mediastinum is in the chest, I believe.
Can you convert that to imperial system for me?
21 centimeters is like 8 inches.
8 inches radius, diameter.
I'm guessing diameter, but like just think about that as a tumor, like how
that's fucking huge. Jesus Christ.
The fact that that could be treated and that he was supposedly recovering is quite incredible if you think back. Like something like that, I don't think would have been very possible even a few decades ago, probably. That would have just been a flat out death sentence on the spot, right?
Yeah.
Without being an expert on the subject, a 21 centimeter tumor sounds like a really, really major problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all cancers are. I don't want to sound like an expert at all, as well, but family has dealt with stuff like that. I mean, not to that extent, I suppose, like breast cancer, prostate cancer. For some of those things, you can just lop it off, and you don't really have to worry about it as much. And then, I mean, it depends on what kind of treatment you want to have. But if it's like in a very delicate area that is close to organs, then you don't always have that option, which is unfortunate. Yeah. Anywho, next thing, Cinderman. So crazy. It's no offense to crazy here, but this just shows how little happened in terms of like Dota news this week. When we're talking about crazy disbanding, I didn't even know who's on the roster other than AUI, if I'm being honest. But the organization, Crazy, has split up. They have terminated all contracts for all players on all their teams because of COVID, essentially. So that's Dota 2, CSGO, and Rainbow Six Siege. So, of course, I don't know the specifics behind like contracts behind some of this stuff, but the fact that typically it depends on the org, obviously, but I would assume a lot of times that the org can just terminate for oh, what's it called? We put in every single contract where the what's that phrase?
Force majeure.
Force majeure, when something out of your hands, just like COVID is a force majeure
Yep.
for a lot of these contracts. So I'm
In
sure
the
they're
truest meaning of the word.
yes.
It really is.
So yeah, all those players are free to join whatever teams they want. I believe that leaves only EG, I want to say, and NA that are a sponsored org. Does that seem
Correct.
right to you?
I think they're the last one.
That's
And just
insane.
to do it a bit more justice, the 4 players that were still officially signed with the team, because they used to play with Skitter, but he left the roster and he's playing in Europe, currently with Fatah's team. What is it? It's called Mud Golems. But the other 4 players, Bryle, AUI 2000, like you mentioned, Moon Meander, and Kezu were the other players in the team. Most notably for me, of course, Kezu, an old teammate of mine. We're still good friends, talk, play together. So it sucks. I talked to him a little bit about it, and he's like, the perspective of getting an org in NA right now is almost non-existent, right? And getting one in general is really hard. So it obviously affects these players' livelihoods, right? Like now they need to decide, okay, we don't have this stable income. There's almost no tournaments to look forward to. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
As these players, like how are you going to spend the next half year? I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. Fortunately for Kezu, he has a decently successful stream, so he can always turn to that, spend a lot of energy and time on that. But what about the other players? Moon Meander can maybe try to revive his stream if he wants to, but yeah, AUI and Bryle.
Yeah, I
I guess
actually
AUI has
completely
something saved up from TI5, but you know.
true. I would hope so. I actually
And then they
completely
played
forgot
with
Kezu was on that
HFN.
roster.
I should mention that they started playing with HFN.
How does Kezu play in those games? They're
How do
playing
you mean?
East, US East.
Oh yeah, I think it's all in East. So he has like,
How bad is that ping? It's like 100 ping,
it's
maybe.
okay. It's playable. It's definitely playable.
What do you
I've
consider
played on East
playable
this
from
much more.
EU?
Don't know. I don't want to give like hard numbers. I'll just say when I've played on US East, it's been all right. Like you remember when we played A to Z Dual Lane Challenge, right?
Yep.
It was definitely playable. It wasn't perfect, but it's playable. Playing on West is awful. Playing on East is doable.
That would be a good series. Make you play on West.
Yeah,
Maybe
great.
we're on the same level then.
I don't know. I don't know about the server that it gives them when they do a private lobby versus a public lobby. If it makes any difference. I just don't know about the server infrastructure. If it literally gives you the same kind of server as the pub games run on, or if it's located differently. Either way, it's definitely playable. It's noticeable, but playable.
Yeah. So again, another NA team. I mean, they haven't disbanded, right? The actual team.
No.
They just lost their org essentially.
Yeah.
So NA just continues to crumble in a lot of ways. And I mean, with each org that leaves, even if it's temporary, that's going to be, in theory, less tournaments that are interested in even. I mean, if let's say we were to run a moderately large tournament, like let's say we got like 50K even. That's not that big, but let's say 50.
Right.
For other games, it's huge, but for Dota, not so much. I wouldn't want to do NA. I wouldn't give a shit because, number one, you're not doing a LAN, right? So it doesn't have to be fair distribution of regions. I just want the best teams. And NA has literally one org, and those players are they even playing together right now? Like half their roster is not even in the US. So
I'm not quite sure what's
it's
going
just
on
EU. EU, SEA probably has, SEA is okay. CIS as well. I mean, it's really just the US is horrendous. Even South America has more sponsored orgs, I believe, than NA, if I'm not mistaken. So
they do.
It's rough, man. It's rough stuff.
I mean, I think what we should maybe think about or talk about with this is what should Valve do? Like, because I've seen, I don't know if you read the thread on Reddit about Crazy releasing all the rosters, but a lot of people are pointing fingers at Valve saying this is what happens when you don't. I'm not sure what to call it apart from kind of temporarily fund the scene or whatever while COVID is on. First of all, is that Valve's responsibility? And secondly, what is the cost benefit of it? Like, let's say you do indefinitely, you don't know how long this is going to last. You pump in money to run tournaments for the pro scene, to have something to do, to generate content. I'm pretty sure Valve could find a way of profiting off it if they want to. It's not that difficult to imagine that you could have made that. Like the opportunities are endless, right? When you think about it, there's you own the games. You could do whatever. You could add cosmetics to regional leagues, so people buy a ticket for it, or you could like make some sort of a special battle pass that connects with COVID, the COVID pass or something, in addition to the
What a
TI
great
pass. But then
name.
there,
I would buy that.
yeah, you know, that's just an example. Then maybe there's worries about oversaturation because people already spend a lot of money on TI battle pass, how much they're gonna care, etc., etc. But uh, there's definitely a perspective that a lot of people have that they're complaining that Valve isn't doing enough. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
like, what do you think? Because I definitely think Valve could and should do more here. Um, Not just NA specifically, but just in general. Like they've announced how they're going to handle the DPC going forward with the league systems for more regular content to make it easier to find sponsors because you have a guaranteed set of games for exposure. Um,
Mm.
but what about now, right?
Well,
You
two
could
of the
look to other games
three.
what they're doing, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to bring up. I think comparing yourself to other games is healthy. I know a lot of people don't like to do that because it's not always a one-to-one, especially when, like, if we were to compare Dota to League, it's not even remotely close to being the same thing, right?
Hmm.
It's a franchise
Yeah,
league. Players are the amount that they average in money, like salary, is absurd compared to Dota. But that's a whole. I
yeah,
mean, again, that's the other side of the spectrum. But uh, like two of the three teams from Crazy are Valve games, CS:GO and Dota. So this is just one team. I'd be interested to see what other games are doing, but like from Valorant as just an example, they're still not back in the office, right? They're still working from home, but they've
hmm
announced what they're going to be doing for tournaments and whatnot. Uh, and we talked about this last week and the week before, and probably literally every week for the past 2 months, at the very least, that Valve they've made some announcement, but they've always been super vague about what they're
right.
actually going to do. There's no details about anything. So yeah, it makes sense that these orgs that probably aren't that profitable in Dota to begin with are like why would we spend any more money on rosters right now when there's literally no tournaments in NA? Like none of our team can't even play in tournaments right now that are even worth being in.
Yeah,
So it just comes down to getting more tournaments for the short term, and then again, harkening back to a lot of the past episodes that we've talked about, they can do a lot of stuff. They can change a lot of the outlook that Valve has, not only just NA, but as a general ecosystem of Dota, spreading the love, spreading the prize pools, spreading whatever the fuck you want to call it. That is the long term solution in both you
yeah,
and our opinions, which that one I do not see happening, but would be a great change of pace. But for the short term, just announce something. Literally anything. Dire Tide, come out with it, and then attach some like fun prize pool game modes. I don't know. You could do anything, but I mean, even like the Aghanim had a lot of. Uh, you could have made that. I thought they did a good job with Aghanims because I know that they had so much on their plate as well with Battle Pass, but you could have even
hmm
tied it more into like the leaderboard stuff, into like even just small little prize pools that would perhaps keep people's interest for a longer period. Like there's just so many different things they could do, and it just feels like they're kind of doing the minimum right now.
yeah.
Next thing on the list, 4AM, otherwise known as Four Angry Men. Actually, technically, their name is Four Angry. Their logo says Four Angry Men 4. That's weird, but anyway, Sylar apparently has been kicked from that lineup. So that apparently is very big news. This was after learning about the dispute. The four players decided to lower their salary to pay the transfer fee for paparazzi. So I guess it's a kind of a huge shit show. That the roster that's showing right now still shows Sylar on Liquipedia, but obviously that's
Yeah.
not correct.
It was
So
yeah, I think it was Maybe who talked about it on. I think it was on Maybe's stream. I don't remember exactly how it went down, so I don't want to say anything wrong. But it was something about transfer fees and a long delay on getting a good answer. Like they waited 2 months on an answer from some. Uh, I don't know if it was from a company or from an org or whatever about transfer fees and everything. And then things kind of just went to shit, and eventually it ended up like this. Like the end result is that Sylar is out and Paparazzi's in, right?
mm,
Um, but yeah, the way they got there was apparently not very clean. So been quite a bit of drama about that.
Yep, and I have no other info on that drama, but obviously it's just goes in conjunction with, to a degree, like the crazy releasing the rosters and
Yeah.
whatnot. Um, the next one, this is a very interesting topic that I don't think we've talked about that I can
Mhm.
provide a little bit of insight on. But Saberlight from NIP made a tweet. I'm just going to read it saying, "Can we normalize not getting borderline death threats when you lose an official? This is nothing compared to what some of my friends have received. Most of the time, it's whatever, but when you're already in a bad place, it can get rough. You need to understand you can lose money betting." So he provides a picture of basically, just some guy flaming him. And this is actually a pretty big problem. Like, I've gotten a couple. I mean, people are pieces of shit. Okay, that's what I've learned, especially in the last year or since COVID started. People are pieces of shit. But
Mhm.
um, like I don't know. Have you received death threats ever? I'm gonna ask you that first. Online.
Ye uh,
Like, and if you have,
I
what
mean,
kind? Like the serious kind, or just the playful kind, or in between? I don't know.
I probably haven't then shrugged it off, right? Because people are just fucking angry. Like the thing, for example, the screenshot that Saberlight posted is something like, "Hope you die from COVID. Please die, you and all your family." I've had something like that probably,
Hmm.
where people are just angry and they're like, you know, I'm not saying it's a small thing. I'm not trying to diminish how much this matters. It's more like, I think the way he put it is really good. The way Saberlight put it, where he's like, most of the time it's whatever, but when you're already in a bad place, it can get rough. Like that's a really good way of thinking about it. If you're having an average day and somebody writes shit like that, you're like, oh, what a fucking idiot, and then you shrug it off. But if you're in a bad mood or you've had a rough streak and you're already feeling negative, then those messages just hurt, Um, whether it's something like that or something else. But I don't know if you know what I mean when I say that those threats aren't the same as, there can be different levels of seriousness to a death threat.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense to really grade it or make a scale or
No,
something
I
like
know
that,
what you
but
mean.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, like really serious ones, I don't remember getting stuff like this probably a few times. Or also like on your Steam, I don't know if you have this enabled where you can get messages on your Steam profile or whatever. If I play bad in a pub game and somebody thinks I'm fucking terrible or whatever, or even if I play all right and he just doesn't
Yeah.
understand or disagrees or whatever, then sometimes you just get a message on your wall like "never play Dota again" or "kill yourself" or shit like that. Like,
Kill yourself's a very
which
common one.
shouldn't
Yeah.
be normalized in any way by any means. But I kind of treat it as what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
somebody who's pissed off in a fit of rage writing a shit message, and then whether they regret or not later is kind of irrelevant
Yeah.
because it's
It's like
there. So
the part of the reason behind this is anonymity to a degree. That's what I thought originally.
yeah.
I originally thought like 10, 15 years ago when the internet was not quite as developed as it is now. I'm like, you know what? If they just put people's names,
Hmm.
they wouldn't be as toxic. And guess what? That is 100% incorrect because Facebook has the most toxic shit I've ever seen. So that and the workshop page. So I personally, just as a personality, have gotten a decent amount of death threats. Nothing like major. Like one was kind of serious. One just random one off the top of my head. I can't remember a lot of the other ones, but one that stuck in my head was the guy was so angry that I liked Artifact that he was very detailed about what he wanted to do. He sent me a couple messages on Reddit. Um, so I think as a personality, it's maybe more so me than it's somewhat. I wouldn't say it's common, but it happens every now and then. I'm sure there's been like Shiver. I can only imagine it's like far worse probably than a lot of us. Um, so one thing I will say though is when I owned a team, and you can talk about it as a player on some of these
Hmm.
pro teams as well. The betting scene actually, for whatever reason, kids get a hold of their parents' wallet. I don't know what the fuck happens. They bet on these games, they lose money. They send these messages extremely often. Like I'm talking about, I only was only a part of the team for a year and a half. There were
I don't
so
know
many
if
death threats on Facebook because of losing games, because of
I
betting
don't know
or
if you're
whatever.
doing it justice when you say kids get their parents' wallet or whatever. I don't think it's just kids, man.
I know. That's
I
just me
want
putting
to
them down,
believe. I
I
want to
guess.
believe that it's immature
Yeah.
15-year-olds that are betting for the first time. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's the culture. I think it's people in their 20s as well, people that are betting and expecting a return because they're like, "Oh, I have a really
Yeah.
good understanding of Dota. I know how good my team is right now, or this team or that team." And then whatever scapegoat you can find who you think played bad in the game with your there's a really high chance you're just flat out fucking wrong because you don't understand the game on the level that the pros do. Um, so you're just flaming somebody who, in your opinion, did bad. Uh, and it's beside the point anyway, whether you're right or not. Like, people are gonna have fucking bad games. It's gonna happen. You have bad games yourself. You just won't admit it. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people.
I
You have
never
bad
play
games
bad.
every game.
Shut up.
So, yeah, I mean, the fact that the problem here is that the behavior is normalized. That's the problem.
Oh,
But
but
I
yeah, there's
don't
no
have the
repercussion,
solution.
right? That's
I
the
don't have
problem.
the solution because there's no way of
They
enforcing it,
they send the
right?
message and then they don't think that, again, let me just put, this is only my perspective, and I feel really bad for people that don't have the same, like, there's sometimes that it does affect me. I won't lie. Like,
Mhm.
even if it's not just death threat, if it could just be criticism, right? Just people flaming you. I will
Yeah,
say 95% of the time it doesn't affect me, but occasionally, like if I'm sleep deprived or something's happening in my life where it's actually affecting me, then it really affects me. And I know that most people are affected by that more than me. And I think
right.
part of it, and I brought this up before, it sounds stupid, but it actually is so real, I think. I'm convinced at least.
Mhm.
Me growing up with the name Shannon in America beat the fucking shit out of me. Not literally. Nobody actually ever
Mhm.
beat me up, but emotionally, verbally abused throughout high school or middle school and high school. I remember in middle school, I used to come home crying every day, and it toughened my skin a lot more than a normal person would have had to gone through, right? And this is
Right.
not even counting people that go through actual abuse, right? So
Right.
I can't imagine what it's like for some people. So I consider myself kind of lucky for having, even that's so stupid to say, being bullied in middle school and high school ends up helping me online. But part of it is online. A lot of the people growing up are growing up online. So their maturity
Right.
level doesn't really peak at a normal age, doesn't get to the point that it needs. Like, you could be talking about a 25-year-old that has a maturity level of a regular 15-year-old. Literally, I would consider that actually kind of normal by online standards, right? Somewhere in
Yep.
that range, which is unfortunate. I don't know what to do. Like, they send these threats and there's no repercussions, right? It's not like what are you gonna do about it? You're not gonna send it to the police. It's not serious enough to go to the police. They're not gonna give a shit, right? I don't know about
I
Denmark,
mean,
but
even
in
if they did,
America,
what are they gonna do?
yeah, there's nothing. So
It's just
the
a
ones that
random
I
alias
love,
online.
the ones that I absolutely love are the women. Some of the women that get verbally abused and then they get in contact with their parents, the person that's verbally abusing those parents, and then show them their tweets, and then they're all like super apologetic. I'm so sorry. Please don't show my parents, please. Those give me a lot of joy to read. But other than that, there's not much repercussions for what they do. So I guess it's just a part of being online.
Yeah.
Okay. Next and final topic, because we don't have much to talk about this week. The Battle Pass, Cinder, ends in 3 days. Do you think we will make it to 40 million? Last I checked, we were about 700K off. Maybe you can update me on the actual figure. It would have to
Let's
be
see.
a considerable jump to get to it.
We are on 39,523,333.
Oh, okay. We could do it. So 500K away for 10 levels, Cinder. What do you think? Will that happen?
It probably wait, so how many days did you say? 3 days left?
Yeah.
I think with the trajectory of the graph, it happens, yeah. It's gonna barely happen
All right.
if this continues the way
Tell
it
me
is.
this. I'm gonna,
Okay.
you know what I'm going to ask? If we don't reach it and we're like 100K away or whatever it is, do you
Mhm.
think Valve just rounds it up? And if they
No,
don't, do you think people will get angry? Because I think they will get very angry, actually.
probably.
So I think that Valve will see this coming.
Part of me kinda wants to see it.
They will see
Part of
this
me wants us
coming.
to be short by $50. That would be so fucking funny. Like, I would way rather be $50 short than get my 10 levels. I don't care about my 10 levels.
I
I
do.
think the irony, or it's not even irony, I just think it would be fucking funny, like,
Well, I
it would
think
just
we
be
will
funny.
make it because of this next person we're going to talk about, which is the Saudi, quote unquote, Saudi prince. who is
I
level
don't think quote
100,
unquote, or well, maybe.
level 107,561. He says he spent how much? 50K on the battle
Yeah,
pass?
about $50,000. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he would have to spend a lot more than that actually to
Yeah, he's
get it up to
contributed
500.
about $11,000 to the prize pool.
Yeah, it's not even that much. That shows you how
So
many
he needs
big whales
to.
there are.
Yeah.
How many levels does he have? I didn't.
107,000, I think.
Right. So he still has 3,200 Crystal Maiden wheel thingies to be disappointed with.
Yeah. How long would
okay.
it take to spin all of those in a row?
Probably till next battle pass.
How long is a spin? Is it like 10 seconds?
It's an eternity, especially when you never get anything of value.
It's fucking 10 hours. You can just sit there and spin it for 10 hours.
Yeah, that's why
You
he
can
still
spend a
has
whole
4,000.
day being disappointed. That's amazing. Who wouldn't want to pay $50,000 to spend a whole day being disappointed?
I mean, that's why we play Dota 2 in general, so it's no different.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can get it for free. You can just play the game, then you also get disappointed for 10 hours.
So, what are you expecting when forget about the 10 levels and all that stuff. When the battle pass ends, are you expecting anything other than the Arcana vote results?
I'm hoping for something. Expecting? Don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much, to be honest, what to expect at this point. So I don't know.
Okay. Interesting answer, Cinderin.
Yeah, well, I know it's a boring answer. It's just the truth. About this guy, I think maybe we can. I found this interesting to see. So just for the sake of it, we don't have to like go very much into detail, but I found the post very interesting. So, the person posting. So this is from a Reddit post from yesterday called "Thank you so much for the incredible Battle Pass, Valve," and it's by this supposedly rich royal family member from Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure exactly who it is, blah, 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 but there's like basically something confirmed as far as I'm aware. And made this post showing off their levels and saying thank you for the battle pass, and tons of people were like celebrating it and being like, wow, that's incredible, you've contributed so much to the game, thank you so much, or hey, I played with you, or asking like just genuine questions, showing interest and being excited. And then a little bit later, comments started to surface with people like, why are you celebrating this person? They're from the Saudi royal family. Don't you know what they're doing in the world? It's fucking despicable that they're even making this post and drawing attention to themselves and looking for more attention basically through this. I feel like it should be mentioned just because it's kind of like it's kind of been a high drama post for the subreddit in the last day or two.
It was number one on the subreddit. I was really surprised.
Like, what do you think about making a post like that where you say thank you for the battle pass and post your huge level? He or they, I'm not sure who it is, has the highest level compendium in the game by about 30,000.
Well, I have I don't know if it's preconceived notions or if I've been verified that it's pretty young kid. It's like 13-year-old. I don't know what his actual age is, but I know he's relatively young. So if he was like 30 and doing this, then that would be I don't know. I guess I wouldn't really care.
That's true. The perspective is kind of different based on age. That's something you don't know.
I don't think I would look at it negatively regardless, but less so, obviously, if he's younger, right? He's just having fun. I don't know. Like, looking at his responses, he seems like a positive guy. I mean, I was born in Saudi Arabia, Cinderin. I know what it can be like over there. It definitely has its challenges. It was kind of scary for me growing up to some degree, but it's just a post. Who cares? Let him be.
So in your experience, how true is the popular Western perspective on what Saudi Arabia is? Like, how true is it? Is it mega exaggerated? How, the classic things that people will talk about will be stuff like slavery or being derogatory toward women or not having the same rights for women, etc. I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past with, was it your mom at some point you told stories about on the podcast, I think?
Possibly.
But that things also improved a lot. Something like that.
So I left, I was born there and I left at 10 and I have not been back since. I don't think I'm even allowed in Saudi Arabia anymore, actually, because I forget what the rules are, but I got to choose citizenship essentially, like which one I wanted to have between Saudi and US. Chose US.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, I would I would say it was probably pretty accurate, especially
Okay.
with the women stuff. Like,
And how
pretty
many years
fucking
ago is
accurate.
that now? Like 20,
25 years now.
25 years ago. Okay.
So women weren't allowed to drive to the point where if you didn't have a man to drive you, sometimes you would have your like we would literally see 8-year-olds driving cars. Like they would have like wooden stuff attached to their feet to be able to reach the pedals. I mean, it's a rich country, but fucking hardcore. People would if you stole something, like the stories about people stealing stuff and getting their hands cut off, 100% true. The stories about people, like there wouldn't be a trial or anything if they thought you murdered somebody or if you committed adultery with, I don't know what the proof level is on any of this stuff, but they would round everybody up in the area and just chop their head off. That is true. How much has
Did you
changed
ever
since?
experience that?
No, I heard a classmate that their parents got their head chopped off doing that once. I don't know if that's true,
Fuck.
but this took quite the turn, by the way. But since I left, I haven't really paid that much attention how much has changed, other than I know that women are allowed to drive, I think. So it's getting a little bit
Okay.
better. But yeah, they're way behind the times. Like, look at it this way. Typically speaking, like let's take North Korea out of the picture here. Typically, if you look at the wealth of a country, the GDP, let's call it, it is generally around the same level as other countries in terms of the what's the word? The way that they treat people. What is that called? God, I'm blanking on everything today. Just the
Not sure.
whatever the fuck that's called. They're far below average. They're like stuck in Stone Age in a lot of ways. But from what I understand, they've made a lot of improvements. So I couldn't say one way or the other at this stage, in 2020 at least.
Yeah.
But back to the Dota.
Okay, so this was a really big like sidetrack, but I was just curious because it's, if nothing else, I found it interesting to read the thread to see like that polarization in comments, right? Where some people are just like, "Hey, amazing, thank you for everything with the battle pass and yada yada, and supporting the game, and it's cool that you're spending so much on it." And then there was that other side of the story that it's literally blood money. Don't celebrate this shit, you know? And I don't really know what to believe. Like I don't know how accurate any of this is, obviously. So your perspective was kind of the best I had on it
I mean, it's
from someone who has been there.
like this is just a post.
And at the
on,
same time,
I don't know.
like
It's jumping to
I don't know.
conclusions. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's say whoever this person is, what are you supposed to do? What can you do to be good in that position?
What do you
Like
mean?
let's say you're, I don't know if you want to say fortunate or unfortunate enough to have been born into this family and they have done terrible things in the past and you have means to do stuff that you like with this money. What should you do? Should you do nothing with it because it's bad money and then somebody else spends it, or should you spend it on something that you think is inherently good and fun? Right?
Right.
Like I don't know, it just seems like a lost situation to me. Like if you're born into a family like this, can you ever do anything without just being condemned for being who you are?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I think the fact that he's just
I mean,
spending it on Dota is like, yeah, let him do whatever he wants. Like that's
I
fine.
feel like if
It's
the
helping
person
our
did
scene,
like,
if anything.
what's the most selfless thing you can do with money is donating to a charity, right? Like that's the most selfless thing you can do.
I
If
would
you did
disagree.
that, if you did that, people would still question your motivation for it. Then they would be like, you're buying absolution or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do. If
Well, it's the whole idea of people are inherently selfish, and if they give money to somebody, they're still selfish because it makes them feel good. You know what I mean? Or it makes them look
Mhm.
good. So it's not about actually giving other people money or helping them out. It's about making themselves feel better for
Right.
what they did. So it's a lose-lose, right?
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
yeah, I don't know. Like I think it was completely overblown. It just seems like a nice kid that spends a shit ton of money in Dota. Like there's no reason to look into it anymore, in my opinion. But that's just me. Anyway, back to the final topic at hand, which you had zero insight on what should we expect when the battle pass is
That's
finished.
me. You know me.
I mean, they did find files behind Dire Tide. some Dire Tide stuff going on right now. So I don't know if it comes out right when the Battle Pass ends. It could. I mean, Dire Tide's Halloween, right? So they have till technically to
When
the
it's
end of the month.
Halloween, it's October 31st, right?
Right.
Okay.
I would say
So probably coming out November 7th then.
possibly. It might be a Dire Tide / winter theme combination Frostivus. I am expecting 2 heroes to come out when the Battle Pass ends, Cinderin.
Wow.
I'm expecting. I'm not hoping. I'm expecting.
Wow. Okay.
It has been a long time. We know they're working on shit. I'm expecting this shit. One of them I'm expecting to be Aghanim. The other one I'm expecting to be Valkyrie. I will be disappointed. Well, Valkyrie is the hero we talked about that had the lore myth.
The one that's
the Norse
got
mythology.
a lot of lines with Mars?
Yes, a lot of lines. Okay. And it might be based off Puppet Master. I can't remember there's so many different heroes with different like little spells attached to them, but we have no idea. A lot of them are probably just red herrings that are put there just to confuse people. But anyway, I'm expecting 2 heroes, Cinder. I'm going to be disappointed, I know. But what's the point in not hoping for things, you know? I mean, do you think it's out of the realm of possibility? Like, they've had so much time to get 2 heroes out. Like, I mean, it depends on what they do, right? I feel like if they're coming out with X amount of heroes a year, it's not like they start working on them a month before. It's like this is a literal year-long process from both a design, like from the concept stage to the modeling stage to all the art-related stuff into the particle effects that are put in and then into actual balancing of the game, right? It is a long process, but I feel like they've had plenty of time for it.
What spells would Aghanim have?
That is the question. And what happens when he buys Aghanims? That is the most intriguing of them all. I don't know. It's too much to think about. Too many Aghanims, man. I love it, though. It can't be Rubik. It's Rubik's father, so it has to be better. Rubik has the best Ags in the entire game. It has to top Rubik, or we will all be disappointed.
All your spells have 0 cooldown. There you go.
Great, but what if his spells are all garbage, Cinder, and then it sucks? You see?
Everything is good at 0 cooldown in Dota.
Everything.
Imagine a 0 cooldown Quill Spray. You'll one-shot the enemy team.
Of course, Quill Spray is insane. But
0 cooldown Nasal Goo.
Okay, what about a 0 cooldown passive, Cinderin? Bristleback passive.
3 passives in his
Exactly. It could be shit,
nice.
theoretically.
That sounds like an ability draft hero.
I mean, he could be the only hero with all passive abilities. That would be great. That would be great for the game. That's, instead of making a new player experience, put a fucking hero with no active abilities. That is the new player experience. I would like to patent that idea. All the new people come in, they don't have to learn anything.
One of the 2 new heroes is literally a Smurf?
Like a blue Smurf?
Yeah. Just have it be a Smurf as like a distraction. So when people are talking about smurfing, then it's less obvious that the problem exists.
That is actually genius. That's how you fix the problem. You muddy it up with something else called the same thing.
Works in politics.
That's true. No, that's very true. It would fit the year very nicely, actually. Okay. Well,
might get sued for that though, but probably worth it.
I think Valve could buy the rights to Smurf. I don't think Smurf is that big anymore. I could be wrong.
Who has the rights to Smurfs? Is it Disney?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Anyway, this is the
Belgian comic franchise
episode of all time, maybe.
Yeah, I'll keep talking to make it longer.
You could do that. We have 0 Patreon mailbag questions because nobody submitted. It wasn't even bad question. Nobody submitted any questions, so we have nothing to choose from. If it was bad questions, I would say
indicative of the times.
What is?
That we didn't get a question.
Yeah. It fits. Okay, so that brings this episode to an end. Cinderin, have you seen In Bruges?
Wait. Who owns the Smurfs?
I could not care any less.
I've not watched In Bruges. I don't remember if I've watched the Smurfs. Maybe I did when I was a kid, actually. That's possible.
Let's just assume you've never seen any movie or show in your entire life. That's what I'm learning.
I watched The Matrix when I was like 7.
That makes me feel really old. Oh my God, that makes me feel.
When did it come out? Actually,
I watched it like when I was 16. Fuck. Wait,
I
I'm
might have
not
been
10 years
actually.
older than you.
I was probably 10.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It came out when I was 10, so I can't have been 7.
Yeah, thank you.
Unless.
All right. I actually, I don't know if I want to ask this question. This could be our mailbag question, but it's so bad. Somebody asked this in my chat early. Okay. It's good that this episode is not sponsored. So I'm sorry for not giving whoever asked this
or
credit.
for giving me notice.
So if cloning was a thing, Cinder, if you cloned yourself, okay, and without going into detail, let's say you did something sexual with yourself, would it be masturbatory or would it be incest? What is your answer?
Really? This was the question. This was the best thing you could come up with.
It's the only thing I can think of right now. He asked the question. I can't stop thinking about it. The last 2 hours, I've been thinking about it. Let me give you my answer, and you can give me a more maybe in-depth version, okay, or more logical.
I mean, it's philosophical. There's nothing logical about this.
If you cloned... Okay, my question is, from your perspective, what is the difference between if you were to clone yourself or if you had a twin... identical twin. What is the actual difference? I actually don't know the answer to this. It's a stupid question, I'm sure. What is the actual difference? If you're identical, what is different about you?
Okay, what's your definition of a clone? Is it a clone right now? So I just somehow magically make a copy of myself that thinks the same way, has the same mannerisms, the same age, looks, everything.
Doppelganger. It's the same, just carbon
copy.
Flat
out the same person times 2.
Yeah, let's forget about like how
because that's
cloning
not what
right now.
Twins are.
Okay. Oh, well, sure. No, but okay, let me put it this way. When you have an identical twin, right, pretty much everything is the same, but if you have different experiences, you're going to interpret things differently over time. So the same, in theory, would happen with your clone. So if you were to clone yourself as a baby, isn't that the same as being...
Okay, that's different.
Isn't that the same as having an identical twin?
No, because a clone should, in theory, be 100% identical, and an identical twin isn't.
But in practice, what does that mean? You know, what does that actually mean?
There's difference in the genetics. I mean, that's very hard to answer. I don't know everything about the human
masturbatory or incest.
Now you remind me of Slacks. You know, you start getting into like a little bit more details. He's like, "Fuck it, man, just cut to the chase. Just tell me what I want to know." Okay, does it not matter? Like you asked.
Please answer the question, okay, and give me your detailed answer. Thank you to whoever asked this Patreon mailbag question.
I would say neither. Why does it have to be either of those two?
I think it's both.
Incestual implies that it has something to do with your family, but a clone is not family. And masturbatory implies that it's something with yourself, and the clone is not yourself. So I would say neither. It's a different... Yeah, neither.
Okay. I like that answer. Yeah.
Wow, you like the cop-out. Holy shit.
I have not. I don't want to Google this because I don't want this in my history, so I might have to do an incognito. I need to look up the word incest on what it technically means. I know it's...
Remember incognito.
I know it's with family, but is it like the full thing or is it just anything in between? Like that's what Do you know the answer?
This is what the porn industry is really playing on, Shannon, is how far...
No, there's a lot of stepdads in the porn industry.
His stepbrother. When is it okay?
Okay, thank God this is not a sponsored episode.
This
Next
episode
time
is sponsored by...
Thank you for the question.
Different sponsor approaches after this episode.
You know, the best thing about this, Cinder, is people that see the timestamp.
Damn, my green screen's exploding.
It's okay.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, it looks
fits
terrible.
with Pega really well.
God, it really looks bad. People that look at the In Bruges timestamp, they're going to see that it extends 5 minutes past, and they're going to think, oh my God, he saw In Bruges. I can't believe it. And they're going to be disappointed with a masturbatory question. All right. Until next time, SUNSfan Cinder signing out. Thanks for joining us, guys. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah.